Aerial compressors are designed for ease of operation and maintenance, as well as for durability and long life. This training presentation addresses the removal, rebuilding, and reinstallation procedures for the piston rod packing. This important maintenance operation is performed at the recommended maintenance intervals or when packing problems are suspected. The purpose of the pressure packing assembly is to provide a seal between the crosshead guide crankcase and the cylinder without restricting the reciprocating motion of the piston rod. Packing design is highly evolved, and detailed design information and theory of operation is available from Aerial. There are several different configurations of packings in aerial compressor cylinders. Some packings are one complete assembly bolted to the crank end head of the cylinder. In some cylinders, the last seal ring, the one farthest from the compressor piston, and the oil wiper rings are in a separate assembly mounted to a diaphragm closer to the crankshaft in the crosshead guide. In some cylinders, there is a second diaphragm packing assembly in the crosshead guide. The primary steps used in the packing removal, rebuilding, and reinstallation procedures include removal of the piston and rod assembly, draining of the packing coolant system when required, disconnection of the lubrication, vent, purge, and coolant lines as applicable, removal of the oil wiper and diaphragm packings when applicable, removal, disassembly, and rebuilding of the packing case, reinstallation of the packing case, reinstallation of the oil wiper and diaphragm packings when applicable, reinstallation of the piston and rod assembly, reconnection of the lubrication, vent, purge, and coolant lines as applicable, and priming the force feed lubrication system. The first step, piston and piston rod assembly removal, are addressed in another aerial training video as well as in the technical manual for each machine. Also during these maintenance operations, valves are removed for clearance measurements. Valve removal and replacement are addressed in another aerial training video as well as in the technical manual. Before working on the unit, a note about safety. Aerial places a high premium on safeguarding the operators, users, and maintenance personnel that work on or come into close proximity with the equipment. Important caution statements are boldly displayed in the operator's manual as well as on the compressor units. Cautions, like the one shown here, will be highlighted when they relate to the various steps that are shown in the following demonstration on piston rod packing removal, rebuilding, and reinstallation. The first caution warns that the crankshaft cannot be allowed to turn by the driver or by compressor cylinder gas pressure during maintenance, and also alerts the technician the compressor must be completely vented before loosening any bolts. Severe personal injury and property damage can result if either of these warnings are not followed. On engine-driven compressors, remove the coupling center section or lock the flywheel. On electric motor-driven compressors, the driver should be detached from the compressor or the driver's switchgear must be locked out during maintenance. Also, the pressure system must be completely vented before loosening the bolts on flanges, heads, valve caps, or packing. Good maintenance practices for working on the compressor include maintaining absolute cleanliness, use of lint-free wiping cloths, and protecting the interior from dust when the heads and covers are removed. Components that have been removed should be protected from rough handling and falling objects that might damage the running surfaces. Gaskets at non-pressure positions should be carefully inspected before reuse and discarded if there's any evidence of wear or damage. Gaskets at pressure locations should not be reused. Before reassembly, apply an anti-seize lubricant to both sides of the gaskets for easy removal during the next maintenance. A comprehensive technical manual supports every aerial compressor. Each manual provides all of the critical clearances, torquing values, bolting data, and special tool information required to properly complete each of the maintenance operations. After the piston and rod assembly has been removed and carefully set aside, disconnect the tubing lines from the top and bottom of the packing gland. There are several different configurations of packings in aerial compressor cylinders. Packings have as few as one lubrication line and one vent line, to a combination of multiple lubrication lines, multiple vent lines, purge gas lines, and coolant lines. With the crosshead at inner dead center, remove the diaphragm and oil wiper packing. Then, remove the 12-point cap screws that hold the pressure packing gland to the cylinder. At this point, do not remove the small nuts from the studs because these studs hold the entire packing case together for removal in one piece. On some models, to remove the packing assembly, two short cap screws may be screwed into the two tapped holes provided in the crank end face of the gland. Refer to the packing drawing in the aerial parts book for the thread size of these tapped holes. The packing drawing with the packing rebuilt kit also shows the thread size. A pry bar under the heads of these cap screws can be used to pull the entire packing out into the crosshead guide. It can now be removed from the unit through the large size opening of the guide. Before disassembly, mark each packing cup to facilitate the reassembly process. Set the pressure packing on a clean surface, on its nose, or on the cylinder end. 3 long studs hold the packing together. Remove the stud nuts and the pressure packing can be unstacked. These stud nuts must be replaced each time the pressure packing is serviced. Be very careful in handling the individual packing cups. The seal between cups is lapped metal-to-metal surfaces. Scratches on these surfaces or faces will allow gas leaks into the crosshead guide and crankcase. Fins or wire edges on the rings due to wear should be carefully filed off so that all matching edges are square. Ring wear can be determined by placing the assembled rings on the piston rod. First, using a micrometer, check for rod wear. Then, check the end gap clearances. And if the ends butt together, or nearly butt together, those rings must be replaced. A detailed discussion of rod, ring, and packing case inspection is provided in the packing vendor's documentation. The disassembly of the pressure packing is now complete. To assure that the rebuilding procedure is done correctly and easily, Ariel provides detailed pressure packing assembly information in each of the 4-part books that are provided with each compressor. Contact your distributor if you do not have a parts book for your compressor. Also, a pressure packing assembly drawing is packaged with each rebuild kit. To maintain Ariel's high levels of reliability and performance, use authentic Ariel parts that identically match any parts that are replaced. Use of non-Ariel parts can result in decreased performance and reduced life. Ariel uses several types of packing rings to optimize the packing design. Each type will be briefly described before proceeding to reassembly. Note that the match mark letters on the rings always face the pressure. The first is the Type P pressure breaker, which is a single ring radially cut into 3 equal segments. This ring slows the gas flow without sealing it completely. The next is the Type BTR single-acting seal set, which is 3 rings that will seal in one direction only. The third is the Type BD double-acting seal set, which is 2 tangentially step-cut rings that will seal in either direction. This ring is used in cylinders operating near atmospheric pressure to prevent air from entering the cylinder. Next, the Type 3RWS oil wiper set uses 3 radial cut rings that are designed to keep crankcase oil out of the packing and cylinder. The Type WAT double-acting seal set features 2 radially cut rings and 1 tangentially step-cut ring designed for low-pressure application. And finally, The Type AL double-acting seal set, made up of 5 rings which function like a double-ended WA T-ring set.